I gave examples of some of the discussion I did in that article. One of the examples I gave yesterday was that everybody was saying that English was very important. That was the reason why it was good for them to learn and study in English. But my discussion was that even though English is important and it is a global language, if you don't understand what they are teaching you, you will not gain knowledge. So even if the students learn in English, it doesn't mean that they will gain knowledge automatically because they are learning in English. Knowledge is not in only one language. Knowledge is in every language. So the most important is understanding what you are learning. It's not the language in which you are learning. That was my discussion about the importance of English. Okay. Then, another discussion I did was that, for example, they said, we know that the students particularly, that we will become proficient in English when we continue to study in English. They will know how to speak English and write English and so on. But my discussion is that they were wrong. I said, no, there is an author whose name is Pickle, P-I-C-K-E-L. Pickle said that you cannot learn what is known as a natural language at an adult age, which means you should be less than 18 years to be able to learn a natural language. So Pickle describes natural languages as languages which groups of people speak, such as Kazakh, Russian, English, French. Any language is natural language. So Pickle distinguishes between natural languages and what he calls artifactual languages. A-R-T-E-F-A-C-T-U-A-L, artifactual languages. And Pickle describes artifactual languages as technology, computerization, all the things that we see around us this time, particularly in relation to technology. Pickle said anybody can learn an artifactual language at any age. Even grandmothers are using smartphones now, okay? So Pickle said artifactual languages are easy to learn, but not natural languages. So my argument was that the students who thought that by being in class, by being in English classes, they will become proficient in English, is not realistic because of this research. That's my discussion there. Okay? Another discussion was that it is important that because of globalization, they should learn English. And I say yes, they were right. English is a global language. But there's another researcher called Claright. Claright says that we should not follow educational globalization for our educational reforms. Claright says because...
Could you please spell Claire?
Check my article. K-L-E-R-I-D-S, Claright. Claright says it is very... people are following globalization for the educational reforms. That is not right. What is important is educational reforms should follow national identity. National identity. Education does not grow without culture. Education develops within a particular culture. That's what Clairight's argument is. So that was another discussion I made that cited Clairight, that all the students and faculty who thought that because of globalization it's important to learn English, whereas that is not true. National identity is more important. And I also cited that language is a hub, is a pivot, or is the center of culture. So if the Kazakh students don't want to learn in their language, it means they are throwing away their culture. See how the discussion is? So I took the information that the students gave me, the respondents gave me, and talked about it. Some of it from my own opinion, and others from the literature. Okay? So, in my notes for the class, I said in discussion, what you do first is to look at your themes, what you reported under your themes, and choose some important issues there to talk about. First, you can explain why certain things, why people said certain things. It's part of the discussion. You could explain why people said that probably this will happen if that happens. That's discussion. You could explain why people said that. You could also say that some of the things that the people told you were not realistic because of some reasons. And then the best way to do that is to use literature to support what you say. So by the time you use the literature, you can use the literature to support some of what the respondent said to you. You can use the some literature to refute, which means say that is not correct. Like I use Clarice's information, Clarice's citation, to refute the idea that English is very important because of globalization. I use the Clarice idea. So that is just simply, you choose a few issues from your themes and use your opinion to talk about the issues that probably people are thinking that this is what is happening. And then you use the literature to also refute or support the issues. For example, I supported a student who said that we will learn English, we will become competent in English if we watch movies, listen to music, and so on. And I said, well, they were right. If somebody is interested in something, they tend to pay attention to it. So if they are interested in movies and listen carefully, they may learn some English from there. That's part of the discussion. So discussion is just that you are not leaving your findings hanging up there.
Okay. In short, you have 4 themes, but you took 2 of them. Yeah? For example, as you explained, from 3 sources, from your respondents and from your own opinion, you supported and refuted the sources from literature too. You talked about 2 themes, not all. You still, yeah? As you explained. So in short, I understood. You don't take all the themes. You take only main of them and talk about their pros and cons, the respondent's answer. If you don't like their answer, you support it by the literature to refute it. If you like it, you also support it with literature. And at the end, you give your own opinion, and you can also support it with literature.
Yes, exactly. That's what you call discussion. Discussion means you are making people aware of why you found that, what is inside the data that you obtained from the people. What is the use of the data? How important it is? You see, the discussion shows the importance of your data.
Yeah. In findings, you give examples from your respondent answers here for the themes, and then you have to conclude all of these things and with your own opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah, in discussion.
Exactly. In fact, some articles I wrote, I said that I used my opinion a lot in the discussion. I said it is true that the respondents think this way, but let's look at it in another way.